Okay, so have you noticed with video, like with the beginning of horror video games that we've been playing, almost all of them begin with like a message or a video from a woman, and then the guy's like, "I'm gonna go find her."
Like what?
Well, I mean, Resident Evil 7 starts that way. Silent Hill 2 started that way. I feel like Dead Space had something with that. I can't remember off the top of my head. But did you not tighten it? It just feels like. I mean, even like Resident Evil 1, Chris Redfield's like, I'm trying to find my sister. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a love interest, but it's always kind of like, I got this message from some woman that I know and I care about, and I gotta find her.
Well, I guess just in general, though, horror video games' main characters are always a male.
Most of the time.
Majority.
Yeah.
Yeah, majority of the time, a male. I'm trying to think of a female lead.
Resident Evil 3.
Alien Isolation.
Silent Hill 3. Parasite Eve. Code Veronica.
I don't know if Hellblade would be considered a horror game.
Bayonetta.
That's more of an action. That's like saying Devil May Cry is a horror game.
It's got that theme, but it's not that type. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Not survival horror type thing.
Yeah, it's like
The Blair Witch Project.
It's a spooky God of War. You know?
Not the game. Sorry. I mean,
the game is also a male with a dog.
Yeah, I know. Is he looking for a woman?
Yeah, the Blair Witch. I don't remember, but that was kind of just wrote itself. Yeah.
You want to just get into it?
Yeah, because this is a rabbit hole. This is Tommy.
This is Jacob. This is Tommy and Jacob's mixtape.
Welcome back, everyone. This is TJ's Mixtape. I'm Tommy. That's Jacob. We are a movie review podcast. We're two buddies that talk about movies. We talk about who made them, where they came from, and then kind of go over the themes and the plot of the movie very briefly, as compared to usual as before.
Oh, when we would go down,
oh
like,
boy,
and then this happened. It's like, what?
I really think we just need to strike all that.
I mean, I wouldn't mind doing like a separate YouTube channel just like retelling a movie like that.
That's all you.
I mean, but like in the way of like how Andy Dwyer does it in Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking of. Oh yeah, and then we give it a arbitrary rating at the end, just for our personal records. And today we are continuing off with what we are calling a Golden Years block, where it's a lot of stories and themes in films about getting older and looking back on your youth and kind of rediscovering parts of yourself. And today our schedule got all messed up because of a certain movie that we were going to do that we're going to do next week. But this week we're doing 1991's Fried Green Tomatoes. Tomatoes.
Potato. Potato.
And if you don't know what that is,
Fried green tomatoes.
a 40-something-year-old woman makes a friend at an elderly retirement community. This older woman shares stories of an old town in Alabama.
Yeah, it's a sweet movie. I had never actually seen this movie all the way through. I knew the beginning moment of the kid getting hit by the train, and I think as that was happening, I was like, "Oh shit! This is it. I thought this was the end of the movie."
I enjoyed it. I think it's kind of overrated.
Really?
But I think that makes sense for when it came out.
It's definitely a slice of 1991.
Yeah. And I didn't...
Or late 80s, early 90s.
Well, like this user on... I like the way they put it. They made a review. I'm not going to read their review, but it's long. But their title is interesting but not overpowering. And that really sings to me.
I think it speaks to a specific audience of people that are queer. It was very interesting. Okay, well, I will say I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really, really great, really good movie. I mean, but yeah, it's like, I mean, he's so distracting.
Yeah, I know. He's fussy.
Jesus. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I did. I thought it was good. It had me tearing up at some moments.
I just think it's kind of predictable.
Yeah, I guess.
In a lot of moments.
Except for the fucking end.
Well, it's again like I was thinking back on last week bucket list and the way I talked about it. Like, I kind of don't really, I should have listened, but I don't really remember ending on, I liked bucket lists. I think everything I said pointed to the direction of I didn't like it.
No, I don't think so. Your biggest thing was the fantasy and how unrealistic it was.
But that I feel the same way about this one too.
Well, there is a bit of unreliable narrator feel in this.
Yeah, it's Big Fish.
Well. Yeah,
which we'll get into later. Because I think that'd be a whole thing. But it's like, I think this movie is like that as a very slice of 90s, and it's just a weird, it's like Southern food, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's really...
And like some food out of Alabama, some fried green tomatoes.
Yeah. And are you going to be doing that the whole episode, or...
Maybe.
Getting out of your system now?
Nope. Now I'm going to do it more.
But yeah, I just think it's I don't know. Interesting, but not overpowering.
Yeah. I at the very beginning, I remember I was in there, I'm like, wow, this is pretty queer coded. I feel like, and then like it gets half of there, I'm like, oh, this is just queer. It's meant to be like they're like, oh, they are lesbians. Okay, cool. But it was like the fact that I feel like I don't know how many years I've known about this movie. Obviously, never watched it. I always got this movie confused with Steel Magnolias because I think I was really young when they both kind of came out, and my mom watched both of them probably interchangeably. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm just sitting there like, I just feel like with the amount of queer friends we have, how this movie never really kind of gets brought up because it was it won what is it? An LGBTQ award in the early 90s. I can't remember what is it GLAAD? Gay Lesbian Alliance Association.
GLAAD Media Award.
Yeah. So I was just like, oh, interesting. Okay.
Outstanding film, wide release.
Yeah, we'll get more in. I mean, that's a very big theme of it, but that's not really the most necessary theme of what this story is about in general. It just was, and it's for late 80s as the book, and then early 90s for the movie. Just interest. It's this stuff it's just now starting to get talked about. You know what I mean?
Well, but I also think that
and female empowerment stuff as well.
Our two leads are in a very specific bubble of the Southern. If we knew more Southern queer people, this might have more of that might be a reasoning why. Because it's a very particular environment that you're living in the 1930s. South is a very unique place.
Well, I mean,
it's religious and
where they specifically were in general because of just like how accepting they were of black people as this community. I feel like just this community is a very unique community out of all of it in general. Well, yeah, especially for the time period.
No, I know what I'm saying is for the audience members. If you if you had more experience in a Southern, this movie might speak to you more.
Oh, I see. I see what you mean. I see what you're getting at.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, well, let's get into. Oh, we didn't even talk about when it was released. Well, I mean, it was
December 27th, 1981.
Yeah. It was actually it was a good box office. Number 11 domestically in blah 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 in 91. How many movies do you have in 91?
20.
I went from 25 or something to like 13, so I don't know what happened, but that's neither here nor there. Let's get into the meat of this. What do you want to just check your last? The last one I looked at was Drop Dead Fred.
Well, because I think right. I thought it was Dick Tracy, but
maybe it was Dick Tracy. I mean, either one. They were both 91.
Yeah, I don't even know what episode. Whatever. Moving on.
Well, let's. So this was based on a book, which I didn't know. I mean, weirdly, I will say this: a lot of movies I want to say from the early 90s, mid 90s, are based off of some fucking random book from some random fucking author. Like, it just feels that way because a lot of movies that I go back and rewatch was like, oh, this is based on a book. Oh, okay. But this is based on a book written by Fannie Flagg. The book's full name is
Rocketeer. Sorry.
fried green tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe, because that's the cafe they opened. The Whistle Stop Cafe. Fannie Flagg. She not really a big novelist. I mean, she's kind of a jack of all trades in the entertainment field. She was an actor. She was a writer. She was a panelist on the Match Game.
Yeah,
through like the 70s and whatnot. She this was one of her big books. She's one of also credited as a screenwriter on this as well. It was nominated for an Academy Award. Fannie Flagg. She just seems to be like comedian actress.
Well, yeah, with the screenwriting thing, there was one writer, then she came in, and then found it weird and kind of hard to change everything. And then the director went in and fine-tuned it, then brought it back to Fannie, and was like, hey, what do you think of this? And she was like, that's good. All right, let's do it. I like it. And then, so it's kind of a whole...
transition into that to director, Jon Avnet, who is mainly a producer. I saw for stuff, like produced a lot. This was like one of his, this was his first this was his directorial debut, or it was one of his early ones.
This is what it's credited as, but he had a couple others. I don't remember if those were.
I think those might have been TV stuff, or maybe just like TV shows.
Yeah, he had a couple. Keep talking.
All the other movies that he has directed, none of them sounded familiar, but they had big name people in them.
So yes, they're all TV series before.
Yeah, okay. Like he directed this movie called A Righteous Kill, and it's like the third movie that Robert De Niro and Al Pacino have been in together. And I'm like, okay, what, when, how, when, not how, but when, what? I didn't know. I mean, I know Heat. I always forget Godfather Part 2 because I've never seen any of the. I've really only seen the first Godfather, and it's been way too long. And I don't remember a lot of it. And then another movie called Three Christs that had, I think, Peter Dinklage, other people that I can't remember off the top of my head. So I just looked at his list. I was like, he just has a very interesting directing filmography. A lot of stuff that I don't feel like people know.
The only thing I wrote down was 10 episodes of Justified.
Fair.
FX Timothy Elephant Show.
That's what that is. Okay. And then our credited screenwriter, who really kind of like probably created the backbones for everything for this to become the screenplay that it was, Carol Sobieski, who also screenplay writer for Annie in 1982 and The Toy with Richard Pryor. And I forget the old white dude in that. But apparently she wrote this originally as a musical or attempted to or something.
And he didn't care for that really.
Which that kind of like jogged my memory. I want to say not like there is an off-Broadway script of this being a musical. Like I remember seeing something for like that while I was going to Cornish. Like a script for it, which I was like, that's interesting. Which I could totally see somebody making this a goddamn musical, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, and then also Carol passed away in 1990, so...
Oh, really?
I mean, yeah.
Oh, did she leave because she was getting...
It doesn't specify, but I mean, maybe because they first... So it says that... So what I read, that John read it in the novel in 87.
Yeah.
Then,
and he loved it.
And then people,
it was like a producer friend that recommended it to him.
Yeah, and then, then they went to studios and pitched it and whatever, and then they hired her, Carol, and they weren't happy with the musical idea, so that's when they went to Fannie. And, yeah. But, yeah, it doesn't specifically say that, but I would assume that maybe that's also, maybe she started getting sick, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. But, yeah, it is interesting how the writing credit kind of just, like, trickled down with this, where it starts with Carol. Well, it starts with Fannie writing the book, and then goes to Carol, and then goes to Fannie back to Fannie.
I mean, and I've talked about it before. In my opinion, getting the actual novel author involved in the movie project is always a good idea.
Very much so. Very, very, very much so.
If the writer's problematic, but still from a creative way, it's probably the best way to go because it's a very intimate thing to write a character,
Yeah.
and you know them. So
I feel like for some writers at a certain point, they've created so much material that they kind of just like, just fucking do something with it. I don't care.
yeah, Stephen King. I don't know that. I don't know. There's a lot of movies of his books.
He's like, do I have a cameo in it? Do whatever you want.
Yeah, I never realized he had a cameo in It Chapter 2.
I don't remember that one.
He's the pawn shop owner that Billy, is that his name? Whatever. Buys his bike from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a dick. He's a dick in it. Yeah.
All right. Who's starring in this, Tommy?
I just wrote down our main 4.
I have like 3 quick shout outs.
Okay, cool. So our start off, I would say as our middle-aged, kind of going through midlife crisis woman, which we'll get into that part of the story, is Kathy Bates, who plays Evelyn Couch. Who apparently was in Dick Tracy. I don't remember her being in.
She was the small, like 30 seconds on screen receptionist. I wrote down Kathy Bader on accident.
Kathy Bader.
Kathy Bader.
Kathy Bates.
American Horror Story. Misery.
Waterboy.
She's got some crazy range, man.
Yeah.
She is such a fabulous actress.
She's amazing.
She is so damn good. And it's like, the thing is like, she's got such a unique look to her. Like she'll kind of always like look like Kathy Bates, but there's like this internal transformation she does with each character that's just so good. Like,
yeah, she's in 132. She has 132 credits. That's
and
crazy.
it's like, I think growing up, I always kind of associated her with like Misery and Dolores Claiborne, like these like intense like horror drama type stuff. And then seeing her in Waterboy when I was a kid, I was like, "What? Kathy Bates is in a comedy? What is this?" And
Isn't she in The Office? No, or is that?
Yeah, she's in The Office.
Yeah, she's like the head.
Oh God, what's her name?
Whatever. She's in that though. Yeah, she's like a bit. I was like, remember
she's
her
in like half a season.
Oh yeah, she's in Golden Compass.
Is she?
Yeah, she's one of the voices.
Oh, that's right.
I forgot about that.
I forgot about that too.
Christmas movie I really like, Fred Claus. It's not very good at all, but I think it's really funny because it's.
I've watched it sleeping, if you know what I mean by that.
Yeah. It's Paul Giamatti as Santa, and
Vince
then Vince
Vaughn
is his brother Fred, and he has to like he's on the naughty list, so he has to bring him to the North Pole to make
Paul
him good.
Giamatti as Santa Claus is such a great cast.
It's one of those things like
we should do that this
it's like
year.
when we were talking about the Santa Claus
Yeah.
and Tim Allen being a weird casting, but it worked.
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti doesn't feel like it should work, but it actually works really well.
What? Oh yeah, I'm gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it. Paul Giamatti can do whatever the fuck he wants. You could cast him as young Peter Parker, and I'd be like, let's do it. Let's see what he does.
He'd be a good J. Jameson.
He would. I mean, I'm really curious. I mean, I would love to see him come back as Rhino, honestly. But
oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I forgot he was Rhino.
Anyways,
that was a weird.
We're talking about great actors with great range, all right? Kathy Bates brought it out of us.
And then our next, who is our narrator, our storyteller, Jessica Tandy, who passed away in 1994, but she plays Ninny, who's like I was saying, the old woman that is telling us the story.
The energy she has is just so fucking adorable and awesome. It's
no, she was like part of one of the best things about the movie.
I mean, she's just absolutely fantastic. She's Driving Miss Daisy. She won an Academy Award. She won an Academy Award for that, I want to say.
She was in The Birds, which I put down, but I don't remember The Birds well enough to.
What's crazy is that she's like 50 in The Birds.
Well, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, but it's I was like, when I went back to I went through pictures of The Birds trying to find her, and I was like, man, why am I only getting Tippy or whatever the fuck the lead actress is? I'm like, whoever, and then I looked at when she was born, and I was like, oh fuck, I'm trying to look for a young actress. Like, damn. And then Batteries Not Included.
Man, yeah, she was born in 1909.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Passed away when she was like 85, I guess. Yeah. But yeah.
Fucking.
She's just got that spry old lady woman energy.
Great Gatsby has ruined the name Daisy for me.
That's fair.
Daisy.
If she would be a great casting for a live action, Hey Arnold Grandma.
I don't really remember the character. And then Paul Giamatti is the grandpa. I don't really remember that show well enough
Okay.
to have an opinion about. I believe you.
Don't hit me. I'll hit me.
Yeah, like I remember that episode. I remember Monkey
Stoop
Man.
kid can't get off stoop.
90s, different time.
Pigeon Man just lets the birds carry him off. I think there's another message in that. Anywho.
And then our two flashback leads
Yeah.
are Mary Stuart Masterson.
Masterson.
I couldn't read that for a second. Who plays Iggy?
Iggy.
I was getting really confused with that. Just the way they were saying it with the southern drawl and stuff.
Iggy.
You might know her from Some Kind of Wonderful.
Some Kind of Wonderful.
Benny and June. Mm-hmm. This really awesomely terrible movie that I saw called Bad Girls.
Oh, yeah.
Which I thought was...
I kind of want to watch it.
Which I thought was fucking hilarious because it's just a bunch of women on the cover in their sexy cowgirl outfits.
I want you to really quick look up Young Guns and look at the cover of Young Guns.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's the female version of Young
No,
Guns.
I saw that and I was like, did Young Guns come out? And then someone's like, well, I'm going to make a woman version of it.
But it says, 4 prostitutes join together to travel the Old West.
It sounds ridiculous.
I
really want to watch it. Also, it's got a great cast, though, as well.
Yeah, that's what I was...
It's Mary Stuart Masterson, Drew Barrymore.
It's impossible to read that cover. Madeline Stowe, Mary Stuart Masterson, Andy McDowell.
Yeah. Well, Andy McDowell, whatever. But
that was weird.
I don't think she's a good actress.
I don't know who that is.
Groundhog Day.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that's who that was. She's in that. Funny. Yeah. But, those are the things she's known for.
Yeah.
Bad Girls.
I feel like there's other stuff I've seen her in. And I was looking through her list, and nothing was pointing out. I think there's another actress I get her confused for, but I also don't know who that is off the top of my head because, yeah. And then our opposite of her in this time, who plays Ruth, is Mary-Louise Parker. Probably most known for being in the show Weeds.
And the show Angels in America.
That's I guess did they do that as a miniseries?
I don't know if it's a miniseries. Yeah, I think so.
Because it's a Broadway play.
Yeah, but it's a show. I know. I just remember my dad watching it.
When I saw Angels in America on her list,
And I remember it being cool, visually.
So that play changed the landscape of Broadway on how special effects are done.
Yeah, I remember it looking cool.
And so they translated a lot of really cool shit. Into the
because it was one of those shows that I kind of remember them not wanting me to watch particularly.
It's a very
heavy material.
adult themed stuff.
But I remember walking through the kitchen
well,
and stuff, and it just being seeing a couple shots of the angels they're seeing and stuff, and being this is cool, And then I just wrote down Red and R.I.P.D., which are two funny.
I've never seen R.I.P.D. I've never seen either of those.
I like R.I.P.D.
My
mom likes
Ryan Reynolds, right?
And Jeff Bridges.
Okay.
And they're undead cops.
Yeah, I know the premise. Yeah. I put down Saved. I mean, it's a small role. She's just the mother of the lead. That's Catholic. It's got Mandy Moore, Macaulay Culkin. You know the premise.
I know the premise. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a fun movie.
All right.
And then quick shout out to Chris O'Donnell, who's only in it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes at most. It was very young Chris O'Donnell. It's early 90s, 1990s, so he's 16 maybe. And then quick Stan Shaw, who plays Big George, who we did in Monster Squad.
Yeah, I saw that, but I do not remember that movie at all.
That's fair. So that's one of my favorite. Yeah.
You picked it.
Yeah, exactly. And Richard Raley, which I can't remember I don't think we've done, but he's one of those actors that is in a lot of different stuff, generally minor role. Biggest one I can always think of is Office Space. He plays the guy that is trying to take his life and then changes his mind and then gets into a car accident.
Yeah. Well, I guess just one more shout out to would be Cicely Tyson, who plays Sipsy. Mm-hmm. I think that's pretty much everyone that we really need to.
Yeah, that's more or less. I mean, other than whoever plays Ed, but I mean, actually, I didn't even look him up, but he's probably in stuff that we've seen. You know,
Galad Sartan
that's his name. Wait, say that again.
for Ed.
Galad Sartan.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fucking
Sartain maybe.
That's a fucking name. That's a name of a warrior.
Yeah.
Up next, Galad Sartan. Fighting the lions.
I was talking to a friend of ours, and I was making a Goonie reference,
Oh,
and they started looking at me kind of confused, and they're like, "Is that the one where they find the body and poke it with the stick?" And I was like, "What?" And
Stand By Me?
I just saw Stand, so maybe think of it. But yeah,
I really want to know who you were talking to.
yeah, I'll tell you off mic. All right, give us our scores. Let's get into we're eating our candlelight.
So on IMDb, Fried Green Tomatoes has a 7.7, and then on Rotten Tomatoes, Rotten Tomatoes,
I knew it.
it's got a 76 tomato meter reading, and an 87 popcorn. So audiences liked it.
Sorry.
Get your shit together, Tommy.
Oh God. Oh no, what just happened there? Okay. Yes, that makes sense to me. On Metacritic, this has a 64, which comes to generally favorable, with 14 positive reviews, 7 mixed, and 0 negative, which I was actually really surprised by. I thought that some people would have some issue.
Maybe they just got rid of some of the negative, if you know what I mean.
No, maybe, but I don't think Metacritic gives a shit. You know, they're like, yeah, that's what they
I mean, it
said.
depends how much bigotry is written into it.
Yeah. We've read a couple. I've read on here a couple.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah. I read one. I think it was for the Rocketeer. Yeah, I read it because it was really offensive. I was like, well, I didn't write it. You don't remember that?
No.
I think it was the Rocketeer. I was like, this isn't great. And I just said it because it made me laugh so hard because I was like, and this was just printed into a newspaper. I don't remember. I can look for it later.
Yeah.
All right. So for the positive, 100 by Peter Stack at the San Francisco Chronicle. This is kind of a long one. It takes a while for this powerful, funny movie to grab you, but once you get hooked, it feels like you're swimming in a wonderful stream of humanity, bathed in intimacy, romance, and, not a little bit, delicious fun. Fried Green Tomatoes is as likely as any film around to carry your heart away and leave you with a wonderful glow.
I like that. I really like that's very accurate too. I mean, okay, is slow burn generally used as a negative connotation?
I think it depends. For me, I don't know. Maybe it's like someone that's smarter than me would be like, yes. But to me, it depends on the context in which you're saying it.
Because like I feel like that's like this movie has a slowness to it, like what they were saying, and then once you get into the meat of it, you're really just enjoying it. Like I got into it and I was feeling tired, and I was like, man, it's 2 hours and 10 minutes. I hope I don't get sleepy and fall asleep, and it's one of those movies where I have to keep restarting because I'm just having a hard time focusing. And it got, I would say, about the 25-minute mark, and my energy had picked up, and I was like, oh, I'm really enjoying this movie. Like I'm invested.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see where it goes. So that's an accurate one.
And then for the mixed, 50 by Jay Scott at the Globe and Mail, Toronto. Fried Green Tomatoes is obviously cooked up with the best of intentions, but like the dish to which it refers, it's rudimentary eats. Not quite junk food, but not quite nutritional either. Not quite nourishing either.
Interesting. I'm starting to have some thoughts. So I'll wait till the reviews are done.
That's it.
Oh, you don't. Oh, okay.
There's
Because
no
there was no negative. Yeah. So one of the things that I read was kind of the flack it got for really not leaning into them being lesbians enough.
Yeah.
Like it's just like because the book apparently it doesn't explicitly ever say it,
but it's
very clear that's what it is, and everyone just kind of like it's like they take care of us though. They're the town's like caretakers in a big way,
Yeah.
And so this movie got a little bit of flack for not explicitly kind of like leaning into that, just kind of like making it more seem like a very intimate friendship.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, right.
I find that really funny to me. That's really funny.
But
to
I
me.
mean, that's all. I mean, what it's interesting is like if they do go a little bit further, you have one actual like kiss scene with them in 1991, then it immediately becomes, oh, this is the lesbian movie, and then it has a completely different look for the general audience, you know?
Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking, kind of, especially for this time frame. They're being careful, to get more of an audience, so it doesn't get. And I'm saying this very carefully, branded as a lesbian film.
Yes.
And I'm using that terminology very specifically because of the
That's
fact
not what this film is at all.
No.
We want it like be very, very clear. It is a very important theme because of there's the theme. I think the biggest theme in this movie is female empowerment.
Well, I was also reading that, like, okay, so for a movie, but the thing is too about that, going on to the queerness that it is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff, a lot of topics that they bring up and they skip over really quick.
Yeah.
Whether it just be but whether it be domestic violence, whether it be violence against race, so a lot of these things are brought up and then brushed over, and then the folks. So even then, even though it wasn't as explicitly said as it was in the book, everyone focused on the queer thing, and even like. I feel like a lot of the other stuff was also washed out. And basically, I was reading that at one point they were talking about making this into a series.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's put on the shelf now, but it was like 2020.
Yeah.
They were started talking about, which I think today, look what they fucking did with the Interview.
That is gay.
Yeah. Right.
I love that show.
Interview with a Vampire.
Just finished season 2. It's great.
Yeah. If you guys aren't familiar, with the new series, they really took the Anne Rice story, and like even Anne Rice in the books doesn't really explicitly say it, but it's like very much very hardly insinuated that they are all lovers.
Well, that's actually a great example.
Yeah,
because look at the 90s movie.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say.
Pretty queer, but it's not
quite there.
Not there.
Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt don't kiss, but
you know, the scene ends. They're doing something else. They're not the kissing kind of couple. You know, there's something else, and that's a great example. That is a very good example. Is Interview with a Vampire is very queer in the DNA.
Yes,
but have a very they don't.
Now we're in a society that can be.
And they went for it in the show.
Holy shit!
They can get it. God damn that show.
All right, reeling back to Fried Green Tomatoes.
Yeah, sorry. It was so violent and so crazy.
But yeah, so with this movie is like, since they're beating, but like Jon Avnet even said like very specifically is that the food fight scene, he wanted that to feel and represent as a love scene.
Yeah.
Which it very much, I remember specifically having it like, feels like they're having sex right now.
Well, because it's a trope within the rom-com.
Oh, 100%.
You know, they're cooking and they're making a mess, but it's fine because they're in love and it's fun.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's an interesting idea of the time period that we're in. It's like the studio is just being careful, it feels like, and trying to get as large of an audience as possible.
Yep.
And that kind of what I was saying, kind of jumping back to this thing too, you're talking about good old Southern ideals and people and stuff, and they're, you know, that's a prideful, God-fearing kind of idea.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're just being careful with it, I think.
Well, and that's kind of like, so, and the interesting thing and now about this movie is like that we have two separate timelines going on, and both of them have both stories are pretty interesting. I would say the story within the story is obviously the one we like Evelyn keep like, let's go back to Ninny. I want to hear more about Iggy, you know? But we're also getting invested with Evelyn's story and her path of finding strength or no, like confidence. Thank you. You know, her path. And then hearing these stories of Iggy and Ruth is really giving her, or Tawanda is giving her this new sense of life and like energy and like strength, confidence. And we have Ninny, which it seems like in the movie or in the book, there's a little bit more of like she's accepting like mortality and whatnot, but I don't know. I feel like Ninny in this, she's a very like one-dimensional character.
I think majority of them are, to be honest.
Evelyn has I feel like Evelyn is a little bit more. I don't know. I feel like everyone has a little bit more meat to them, but Ninny is just our narrator as well. So it's kind of like it's hard to, in a movie especially, have unless like the whole thing to reveal is that she was edgy the entire time, actually, which she's not. They weirdly try to allude to that, but then it would be like, why does she keep talking about her husband that she had, her son that died when he was 30? It's like all of these things where unless she's lying,
or unless it happened after.
No, I don't think so.
Well, I mean, that's what I was reading. I was reading before we started, a whole breakdown on how you kind of can prove both.
Well,
within context.
After reading what the after reading what the book was, it's very clear that Ninny is not. Ninny is married in sister. Yeah, she married Iggy's brother.
Yeah,
Cleo.
One of the later brothers after.
Yes,
Buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay. So it's just kind of it just felt like a weird, maybe the studio was like, well, what if we leave it open-ended in the middle? It's like, oh, okay, sure, whatever. But because it's kind of like that ending, the ending felt weird because I had already accepted at a certain point, like, oh, I don't think she is like either of them. Just like everything she's saying just doesn't make sense for it.
Well, no, but her being Ninny, not being Iggy in any way, shape, or form makes all of the stories, in my opinion, better. Because it becomes the big fish thing. This is everything she heard, word of mouth.
Or was kind of
50
witnessing.
years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Now she's an old woman, and, it's mutated and changed in her head, even from what she, the game of telephone. So that makes everything really more believable to me.
And then it's like the tall tale was like, she fed them. They fed the dude.
Yeah. Which is how it is in the book.
100%, yeah.
They feed him to the detectives looking for the missing person. Yeah. They feed the missing person. What the flying fuck is that?
I love how it's just kind of like casually like alluded to. Well, because it's the secret sauce. Like,
well, because
what?
Well, because they don't. It's like it's this weird thing where it's really weird. I can't really think of another example of this. They never fully commit that yes, they killed him and then fed him to people, but they never ever like commit to the tall tale of that either. It's in this really weird, lukewarm zone.
Which also you gotta think like in 1991,
this family film, they can't commit to cannibalism. It was wild. And even then, looking back on it too, it's like every time they're looking for him, they keep jumping back to that barbecue.
This is the best barbecue I've ever had,
and I didn't even notice that. And I was like afterwards, I was like, oh yeah, they are. Every time they're looking, they bring up Frank,
and George is kind of like,
yeah, and he's all shifty and like, hope no one notices that these are baby back ribs, like Jesus. Just casual fucking. And know what's funny too? I think at one point I did say that. I did.
What?
At one point I made a Sweeney Todd joke.
Yeah, but that was after everything, wasn't it?
No.
Oh, really?
No. I did make a Sweeney Todd joke. I don't know why I got that vibe. But it didn't like fully commit. That's wild. That's just. Yeah, and it's like, it's just take all that and then just change the music, and it's a horror movie,
right? I'm glad I don't, for your sake, remember the lyrics to Sweeney Todd's.
I sure do.
The Mrs. Lovett's Meat Pies or whatever.
I don't know. It's one of those musicals that just stuck in my head, like that Nightmare, and there's a couple that are just.
That's fair.
I can pull them out of left field if I need to.
You have a better long-term memory.
I think for
quotes and stuff,
yeah. It's a fucking useless skill. Someone's like holding a gun to my head. It's like, quick! Sing This Is Halloween! Do all the voices! I'd be like, all right.
Perform Ace Ventura right now!
Yeah. Front to back! Front to back!
Excuse me, do you have any Banaka?
Well, it's just like, I don't know. I think that I still really feel like the characters are two-dimensional, because even in the sense of Evelyn is this suppressed, quiet, submissive housewife
I see what you mean,
person, and then suddenly she's Tawanda, and she's kind of just an asshole to everybody.
She has a breaking point.
And she just is
I
like,
made a falling down joke.
and I'm just not gonna take it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's it. That's her personality now, and so it's still two-dimensional.
Yeah,
it's
I
just
see what you
now
mean,
it's the same character from going from this dimension over to this two-dimension.
Yeah.
And they're all kind of like that, you know, like Iggy being, I'm a tomboy, I wear boy clothes, and I drink whiskey and gamble.
And we're supposed to not believe she's a lesbian.
And you're like, and you're like, all right. And then you have shy Ruth, who's quiet and reserved, but very kind. And everyone loves Ruth. Everyone loves Ruth. She dies, and old Smokey kept a picture of her as well until he died. Everybody loves Ruth. Clearly, because Smokey kept the picture. You know, that's what I mean. It's just very kind of beaten into your head the whole time. So that makes them two-dimensional to me.
It's like a...
And it's not enough time. That's
is
really
that?
what
like
it
a
is.
Folk tale almost?
Yeah.
I don't think that's the right...
No.
But you know what I'm trying...
Yeah,
where I'm going for.
But that's it's so funny, and I don't mean to bring it up. I mean, I do, because it's
like Southern fairy tale type thing.
I think it's pertinent to this kind of the storytelling you're looking at. But it's even like with Big Fish. It's like Big Fish. I hated Big Fish when I was a kid because I didn't like the fact that it was these tall tales. It wasn't until I was an adult I was like, oh, that's actually a really interesting way to tell a story. And this is, to me, in that same vein, because they are these old tales down from the bayou kind of thing, you know, where it's like...
It's kind of like...
tall tales. And even with her, too, tell me one of your tall tales. It's like she's known for
that. This is kind of like a American Jane Austen.
Yes.
You're just gonna say yes?
Yes. I don't fully understand.
It's just like, not necessarily like the story within the story thing, but like the socio-political nature of like, in the tall tale of everything, like the story of the past and whatnot, very loaded with just like
little nuggets of
the
trials and tribulations of the people at the time.
Yeah, of the people that, you know, in the small community that don't really live by the rules that the rest of the world is trying to live by, you know? And I feel like just like, I don't know, like Pride and Prejudice, or even just like, you know, Little Women. I know that's not Jane Austen. 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 Hey, what was that? But do you see where I'm going with that idea? It's like, since that's like, but that's like the 1800s. So I'm saying this is like the American. It's like the young or post Civil War American telling. I don't know. It was a connection I made.
No, I see now the connection. You're by the way, Little Women is Louisa May Alcott.
Thank you. I mean, we did it. So I was like, we did the movie. I was
but then all I could hear was Jane Austen in my head. I was like, I'm completely drawing a blank, and then the blank is filled with Jane Austen, and that's not right. I know that's not right. Well, yeah, no.
Persuasion. That's the big one I was thinking of.
But even like when I was reading, like, you know, I read all the critic reviews, and, you know, like the biggest thing is the critics really loved it. Or the other reception, especially because there's no negative, everyone just thought it was lukewarm. Everyone just thought it was very predictable, which it was. You know, even good old Buddy going down the train tracks and his foot gets stuck and he gets whammoed by a train and then dies. And you're like,
whammoed.
You're like, okay. But that was even weird too, because it was like they did this like fake out where it looked like he got out of the way. Yeah. And then they're like, psych, no, he really was hit. And you're like, okay, why would we do the fake out? Like, the tension was already there. Why is this last little cheap little sliver of hope that he didn't die? I guess I don't know.
I mean, it could have been the last second he got his foot out of the boot, but it wasn't. It wasn't in time.
And good old Buddy Jr. living like his pa. I mean, I know it's
playing on the railroad tracks,
which and then his arm gets lobbed off. And see, that's another thing too. That's really what it is, because that's a perfect example too, in a smaller scale, I would say, because, you know, as opposed to the domestic violence and the racial and the gay and all that, is like little buddy Junior losing his arm. It's like he loses his arm, they
and
bury
he survived in that time.
and then everything was kind of fine, and then he very quickly goes up to his dying mother and is crying about not being able to play baseball, and then we just kind of move on from that. There are a lot of things, like in that time too. It's like losing your arm at this period you're now, can't think of a terminology at the time, but you're now a hindrance on the society because now you're not.
Oh, I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking more, it's like you lose an arm and it's like this medical science isn't like that could be a death sentence.
Well, no, but I'm also saying, but then going on with life too. It's like now, and this is Buddy Jr.'s first example of what his future is going to be having this now disability, and not being able to play baseball is going to lead down to other hardships he's going to have in life. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where we kind of start going down this story and this kind of theme.
I think
and then
that might be. I'm curious how much more that's covered maybe in the book.
And then
because it's already a 2 hour and 10 minute long movie, and it's like they're touching base on all of these things.
Yeah, but that's
just to be like bring it up, and then it's like they move on.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. It's like the problem with this movie is just there's not enough time, and that's why a series would probably work, because every single one of these issues and these themes take more than a 2-line conversation.
That's probably why Fannie Flagg was having such a hard time. She's like, I don't know, like you've already gotten rid of like half the characters that I wrote, so here's the characters that, because like
let's just brush over the Ku Klux Klan
Sissy?
real quick.
Right? Sissy, is that her name?
Oh no, it's I have 8 million tabs. Sipsy.
In the book, she has her own like chapters and story of it all as well. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of what it is. Now that it's weirdly a pacing issue, but it's disguised really well.
It's disguised very well.
Because even Sipsy, is protecting the baby from evil Frank coming in trying to kidnap him, getting whacked with the gun, and then her showing up again, saving the day, and she's actually the one that kills Frank. That again is just and done. Okay, on to the next thing. And that's kind of really what the issue is. And that's probably why it also gives it this really two-dimensional, shallow feeling, is because you don't really get enough time with anyone except, I would say, probably Evelyn.
Yeah. And I think...
to really,
And I think the story within a story is what helps that clip along and for us to kind of forgive it as well. Because knowing that it's like a story. I mean, it's a movie still, but like as someone telling you a story about stuff, we're really just kind of like, oh yeah, and what happened next? Oh, that happened? Interesting. And what happened next? Oh, okay. And what happened next? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, because we want to get I think inherently want to get the results. We want to know the outcome.
We want to know what the fuck happened to Barry. Frank.
Well, and it's also like, I think his name was Frank Bennett. Was that it?
That sounds something like that.
But like the thing is with that too is like lost it.
Story within a story.
Oh yeah, like I feel like a lot of times when you do watch and you kind of read reviews about movies that have a lot of time jumps in them, people. I don't want to say have a hard time following them, but they find them. It seems like people find them jarring, whether or not that's the terminology they use, which I get. But it's like something like I read a lot of that with this, that the jumping back and forth between the times was kind of confusing or jarring or whatever terminology you want to use for it. But then it's like something like Holes. Holes does a lot of that too, but I don't particularly remember that being that. And I think that has 3 different time jumps in it.
Did you read the book before you? Okay.
But that has 3 different time jumps.
Okay.
So present and then past and then past. And I don't remember it being very... And I'm just kind of now wondering to watch it to be like, what did they do to make it so clear? It's probably something really subtle.
Well, one thing I'll say in this is that they never really... There's never like a... it's never like a
title card
for like what time, like in present day and back and forth, which I appreciate. I feel like that's only needed... in specific kind of movies that have a time jump stuff.
Yeah, or
this one, the way it's I feel like it's very seamless. Like when we're cutting back from the past into the present, it can be a little bit like, wait, oh no, that's a modern supermarket. But now we're in 2024. Someone might be like, is that a supermarket from the 1930s or is that 1990?
Doritos weren't invented yet.
Yeah.
That's how you know. You can tell by the Pepsi can. It's white.
That there is a fucking Pepsi can.
Why? They still do Pepsi cans.
Oh no! I meant there was Pepsi cans in the 1930s.
Oh yeah, that's true. See, it happens. Confusion abound. Well, it's also and then there's that like kind of really the obvious one where you just change the camera filter so it's like sepia or black and white or I wonder if they did do that. I would like to go back and see because I feel like there was just a little bit of difference when they would do those fade ins and fade outs. If there is just a minor difference in color grade when it's in the past versus the present, just kind of change it a little bit. Well, but even then, what you were saying too, that supermarket thing is funny you bring it up because I remember specifically watching it in that moment, being like, "Wait a minute, where are we?" Mm-hmm. And that's kind of cool, actually.
I brought that up because I also was like, "Wait a second."
Then I saw her
because like my mind wasn't.
Oh, because no, that's what it was. It was the tabloid. She's in line reading the tabloid, and I was like, "Oh, that's weird." They had those kind of tabloids in the 1930s, and then you see Evelyn, and you're like, "Oh, okay, that makes more sense." We're in 1984 or whatever it is.
Yeah. Maybe I'll watch what I'm thinking of because there was a transition where it was like, "Oh, was it? Did they transition to the tabloid, or did they transition to the outside of the store first? Do you remember
the tabloid?
Okay. Wait, no, these are two different ones. Because the tabloid is when she's leaving the store, and then the young kid like bumps into her. Yeah. And then the second time is when she rams into the.
Yeah, but you never actually see her go into the store at that point.
No, exactly. They're two separate ones. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And the one I'm specifically thinking of is when it transitions to you see the grocery store. Uh-huh. Because I had this thought of just like wait, we're in 1930 still, right? Why is there this modern grocery store? I was like, oh, I know there's a modern. There's an entire other story. I got so caught up in the story of the past that I forgot that there was that it was a story within a story.
Yeah.
Anyway, transitions. Woo. Do we want to talk about Evelyn's journey?
I kind of did. She becomes an asshole.
Well, yeah, but I mean, sure, but I mean, she's struggling with a marriage and she can't stand up to her husband, and I mean, I wouldn't say she becomes an asshole. She becomes kooky. She starts tearing down a fucking wall. But I mean, that's also a lot of this movie is tropey in big senses because it's like if any like what's word of like even-minded fucking person came home to any like wife or husband tearing down a wall in their house, they'd be like, what the fuck are you doing right now?
Well, yeah, he kind of has that sitcom husband.
Yeah, like
oh, there she's at again.
Evelyn, what you doing there?
What you doing there? Yeah,
looks like you're tearing down the wall.
Well, no, but I mean, her whole relationship with Ninny and everything is very sweet.
It is,
and it's Kathy Bates. Like
it is interesting and this is one big thing I can tell that the studio probably wanted, like maybe like forced on Jon Avnet, or maybe he just wanted this. Maybe knowing that we'd be more marketable, is Ninny passes away in the book. And Evelyn finds out about it while on vacation with Ed, and that Ninny left her a bunch of like trinkets and stuff of her story and whatnot. In this, it's like it's a fake out.
Yeah,
dude, and a fake out that really hit me because Kathy Bates' performance was so fucking good. Of like freaking out about losing who's now like her best friend, really.
Well, yeah,
just for it to be like, just take
every one of those
the fucking rug out from underneath you twice.
And everyone that works at that nursing home or elderly care center or whatever needs to work on their fucking bedside manner.
Yeah.
Like, even, granted it was a miscommunication, but even she's like hysterically crying and she's like, honey, I didn't think you'd take it this hard. It's like, well, 'cause maybe clarify with the person. Wait, who are you looking at? Because even then it's like weird writing. Because she's been coming to visit this one woman. Who gives a shit about Miss Otis? Like, like she. And I just thought it was weird. But that's what it was. It was a fake out.
It was a fake out.
It was a fake out turned into a joke, turned into a happy ending.
Miscommunication, and then Ninny's alive, and Evelyn's like, well, you're gonna live with me now.
I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Still. To this day, anytime I think about it, I'm like, God damn.
I love that meme so much now. Every time I see it, I'm just like, God damn, I can't believe we were. To
this day, it's like you don't really think about it until you think about it.
Well, I think it's the more educated society we are. We're like, that's really fucked up.
They dropped him, like a lot.
Okay.
A lot. Jesus.
No, it's a little late for that. I just remembered when I was in the 6th grade, we did a field trip to an old folks home. I didn't want to say it like that. God damn it. That's such a bad way to say it. What is it actually? A retirement center? Retirement home?
Elderly care community.
Elderly care community, yeah.
That just feels like a lot longer than old folks home.
Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of rude.
Why? They're old. They're folks and they live in a home. It's pretty pointed.
Moving past it.
It's like, nailed it on the head.
Watching this movie kind of like brought it back to me. I had completely forgot about it. But everyone in my class, we were assigned one of the patients there that we were supposed to go and talk, and then we were like to ask them about their life or whatever, and like we would have to make notes, whatever, it was stupid field trip with an assignment.
Interviewing old folks at the home.
Yeah. I can't remember if it was the one that I was supposed to talk to or if it was my friends, but we showed up and one of them had passed earlier in the morning.
Like they do.
Yeah. And I remember just like the awkwardness of my teachers being like, like not wanting to say anything to us, but me and my friend were just sitting there like, kind of were like, wait, what? We were 12 years old. We're like, what happened? This is crazy.
That's why it's a wild move.
Right?
Unless you're prepared to have that chat.
Right? And then we end up going in we both talked to this.
Let's go get ice cream.
This older lady. And she's, in her like late 80s. And she's just, you're both wonderful young women. You remind me of my daughter. And we're like, what?
Oh.
12 years old. She's like, should we correct her? I don't like,
Yeah.
She's a little bit down the road. On another road.
I don't have an old folks home story. An elderly care community story. No. Maybe?
I don't know. Have you ever been to one?
I don't think so.
I used to deliver food to them regularly when I delivered pizzas in Spokane.
I think my grandmother was in one, but she was in like a really fancy one.
Oh, okay.
She had money.
Money?
She had money, honey.
Yeah, the ones I delivered to, not much money. Your toy's gone. No.
Yes.
No.
I got it.
What more? Anything more?
No. I mean, I'm still thinking about
so
the glossed over thing. I'm like, yeah, I mean, they did it with the queer thing, but they also did it with everything, which is fine.
Because
It's a quick little 2 hour
all of those
bite
glossed over
thing.
things they're not the importance of the message or the story.
Mm-hmm.
The importance of it is really Evelyn's, finding her confidence, and it's that female empowerment. It's how Ruth and Iggy, despite all the odds, they overcome. I mean, Ruth does pass, because cancer is a bitch, and
Well, inherently, it's not important about that story because that story already happened. we're watching the Evelyn thing.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, the glossing over thing, because even then, like kind of what we were talking about when it was playing, is it does have this queer coding, but also at the end of the day, you could just, if that's just the way you see it, is it's two people very close, almost with a sisterly bond. If that's the way you view it, you can view it that way. I viewed it. I had moments where it was both, where I could see it just being the sisterly bond, or I could see it being more than that. And I think that was a smart, maybe not smart, but that was the move, and it worked out.
It's the smart move to do in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, we did put on a cheerleader, and, like, that gets really much into it, but that's making fun of how movies like this were so, like, not explicit about it, you know?
Well, yeah, and it's just like, and I go back to the branding thing, because then suddenly this movie is going to be, in the 1991, it's going to be branded as a lesbian movie. Yes. And like you said, then the entire basic, in a parallel universe, they did that, and this movie has a completely different connotation in history than it does now.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that
may not get nominated for an Academy Award,
but I'm also not saying that's bad. I'm just saying it's the move they chose. But that's the way they went.
Regardless of even like the lesbian themes, what I mean, like the overcoming of everything with like for Ruth and Iggy, it's two women in that time, overcoming, the justice system of going to all that's it's that's the theme of
overcome the justice system. They did it.
They didn't murder him.
They were accomplices to murder. And then they buckled down and doubled down.
What was it? It's hog washing time? No.
Yeah.
Is that
hog boiling?
Hog boiling.
Something like that.
Hog boiling time. It's like, no, there's no hogs out there.
Yeah.
No, George.
You're not getting it. And everyone just fucking went with it. And they fucking buckled down. I'm like, put him in the truck and leave his body there. Whatever. No, they had to hide
that would look worse. Because once they pulled...
Yeah, no, it looks worse, but it's not worse than feeding him to a whole bunch of unknown... like... She fed him to the cops looking for him. That's some mobster shit, dude.
That's what a pig gets.
That is a mobster fucking move.
Fuck yeah. I love it.
It's so weird for this story.
It is, but I love it.
It's so fucking...
But, okay, it feels weird for the story, but it is fucking 1930s Alabama, motherfucker.
It's like...
How do you get away with murder?
It was like one... It's like what... I don't know. It's like one thing... I kind of like boil him down. I was like, okay, yeah, because then you can kind of destroy the body. And I thought that's where they were going to end it. But when they got to the feeding him... And again, this is all very maybe... I'm going to go what they did.
In the movie versus the book?
Yeah. Well, no, but just in general, just the fact that, like, they actually fed him to people is just kind of wild change.
But it's they fed him to the detectives. So it's...
That makes it better?
Yeah. Fuck cops.
Unknowingly eating another person is kind of like... I don't know how much more fucking maniacal and diabolical you can get.
What is that term? What is that term?
Fucking diabolical.
Something pig? It was on Scare Tactics, and I was like, oh, I never heard that term before.
Oh, yeah. Long pig.
Long pig, yeah.
Long pig, yeah. It's long, yeah. Long pig.
All right. This barbecue's real good. What is it? Long pig?
What are we? I think we're done.
We're at like 64. 63 now.
What do you want to rate it?
3.5. Almost a 4 in my mind. I really liked it. I think it's really well done. You pointed out a lot of true things about the glossing over stuff.
I'll meet you at 3.
Yeah? What did we give last week? What was last week?
Bucket list, a 2.5.
Oh, yeah. We gave it a 2.5. Wow.
Just because of the fact that it was kind of... The bucket list had the same kind of thing. Tropey, kind of superficial, feel good.
Have we just gotten to the point where we watch 2 movies that we're just noticing the tropes and it's bothering us more?
No, because I think they have a purpose, but it's like... I mean, because that's what I'm saying. Like, this does a lot of the things Bucket List did, but this to me had more heart and was just more of an interesting production as well, just from a movie standpoint, because it was this period piece, and then you go back into the present, which is now a period piece. So that was kind of cool. Born in the 1900s. But yeah, I mean, I think
feel
it's like
so old right now.
I think it's a solid 3 because I don't know 3.5 because we go up to 5, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's got like I don't know what was Metacritic.
What was
Its rating on Metacritic.
62?
Oh, yeah.
So it's generally favorable.
So yeah, Metacritic's lower than I have like high 7s.
Yeah, 64 generally favorable. Because what is 3? 3 is just good.
Mm-hmm.
And 3.5 would be like pretty good, and
And
4
4
would
is
be
great.
great,
4.5 is
really great.
stupendous, and 5 is
The
blow your fucking head off, mind.
So for me, okay. So
I'll
for me,
settle
it's
on
a
3.
good.
I'll settle on 3.
Okay, we'll do 3. 3 out of 5. All right. So that was episode.
Oh,
What?
we forgot to do our movie thing. Ryan Reynolds to Matthew Perry to Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, you did it.
Did you try it all?
No, I forgot about it until I just saw it, and you texted me about it.
So let's try to remember to maybe do this at the beginning, and we'll start it again next week, I guess maybe. What did I do? Oh yeah, Matthew Perry is in Fools Rush In with Salma Hayek, and Salma Hayek is in Hitman's Bodyguard with Ryan Reynolds.
It's easier than you thought.
See, that's how easy it can be. We'll bring it. Let's remember this, and we'll bring it back at the beginning of next week as well. And I'll talk about that one as well for those who missed it.
So that was episode 214 of Fried Green Tomatoes, which we gave a 3 out of 5 carrots. Carrots are stars, but we call them carrots. Next week, we are doing Cocoon.
Are we officially? Is it? It came in.
Yeah,
it came in today.
yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
We wanted to start off with Cocoon, but Cocoon's kind of a hard movie to get your hands on.
Yeah, it is.
Finally got our hands on it. It's a coming golden years, like a sci-fi comedy drama.
And it has Jessica Tandy in it
Yeah,
as well.
and Jessica Tandy's in it, funny enough. But yeah, we're going to do that next week. But follow us on Instagram and Facebook for all of our posts for upcoming episodes. On all those posts, you can find our link tree. And on that link tree, you can click on that, and then it will take you to where we do all of our stuff, whether it be Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, so on and so forth. Follow us and like all those. And any comments on any ideas about the movies or what we thought, if we're wrong or if we're right, we'd love to hear them. That's pretty much everything.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Pretty much. And this is a perfect example of that. This is Tommy.
This is Jacob.
This is
Tommy and Jacob's mixtape.
Taters.